Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to our series on programming a little project called Chess Tunnel. If you don't know what it is and you would like to have some background, I recommend watching the first video and also the second video, maybe, so you can see how we ended up here on the screen. In this video, I will talk about using SSH to connect to a server, and I will do this with an authentication and key-based, public-private key-based authentication. So let's get started right away. First of all, I go to the libssh because that's the library we're using, and I go into the getting started tutorial, and then here is some code that covers basic authentication, but that is not good enough for us. Because we want to use key-based authentication. So here is the thing how we do it. We need to follow these steps. We need to import the public key, import, retrieve, what you might call it, the public key. We try to use it with the server. We retrieve the private key, and I think this is the way we will go, using a callback function to specify the passphrase for the private key, because I like my private keys with passphrase on them. Then we authenticate, and we do not forget to clear our memory, which they are not doing. Oh, are they? No, they are not doing it in this minimal example. So this time I mentioned earlier that they have quite a lot of source code available, like complete examples. This time they do not really have one. The reason for this is there are way too many variations of this theme where the code would differ for different scenarios. So putting up an example would mislead people into the wrong direction. And also, there are a lot of things you can do wrong here, and they want people to do them wrong themselves and learn from it and figure stuff out, and probably and not post any, because things that might be right in one scenario would be wrong in the other scenario. So if they put it on there and people copy paste it, then they would ask and maybe send support tickets and say, oh, but on the side it's posted this way, and now other people are using my server because I did it wrong and have a security hole in it. So now the example is a lot more minimal. Okay, so let's try to do it ourselves. First of all, I will take code from the from this. And then change it at the appropriate places. Okay, so this entire thing here is not really needed at the moment because we want to set up the SSH thing now. The first thing I want to find out is what is the object called we send our, I think it's the SSH session, where we send our strings to later. So I would say SSH session, my SSH session equals, and then let me do this, SSH session connect, and we don't need the word and authenticate. I don't know if we need any parameters on this. Maybe the file name. Yeah, this is a good idea. The file name of the key file. Okay, so let's pull in our, I always like to have this little editor as a temporary buffer. It has all the neat functions. I can replace regular expressions. has a very transparent issue on how the file is encoded, line endings, and character encoding. So Notepad++, I can really recommend it. And the good thing is, in your daily life as a programmer, you work with like 20 different IDEs. So the editor functions of all the IDEs tend to be quite different. So if you have some on Windows, for example, some text editor you always use together with the IDEs, then it gives you some confidence and allows you to do some things quickly where you would always struggle with the IDE. For example, if I would need to search and replace with regular expressions on Visual Studio, I would have no idea how to do it. And here it's hitting Control F and clicking on replace. This is the thing. Okay, let's go on. I expect this function because I don't want to have very big methods in terms of lines of code. So the connecting and authentication, and maybe we make two sub-functions later, one for connecting, one for authentication. But right now I think, okay, let's put all the code in there. Okay. Not all of it. Okay, so we make a session object. Okay. SSH option set. Yeah, we need to set a few more options, I guess. And this would need a few more arguments then. But at the moment, okay, here's the thing. When you code and you have things like this is always a very bad idea, because you will end up having it in a lot of places. Like here in this example, you have it already in 2 places. And when you want to change it later, you have to change it in a lot of places. So the correct way to do it is not to have string literals cluttered all over your place, but to have some place where they are all, and then either with a macro or with a variable. It depends on your programming language. Want to have them on the right thing. For example, this thing is not this time not a numerical literal, but it's a talking thing, and somewhere there's an H file where they are all defined, and so if they have to change it, they change it there and don't have to change it in 1,000 places all over the code. But for now, I will go with a string literal and change the code later to meet my standards, because I want to have a working example in this video. Probably not possible in half an hour. I don't think so. Not if I keep talking so much. Okay, so we have a password. We make a session. If this does not work, we exit 0, 1, minus 1. Then we set some options. Then we try to connect. If this does not work, we exit -1. Then we verify the server's identity. If that does not work, we disconnect, and then we authenticate ourselves. And this probably is not correct, because we do not want to authenticate with password. So I delete this code, and we don't need this for now. And what is RC? RC is the return value. Okay. Yeah, okay. I think this is good. Okay. Okay, here's an undefined function. I think there is a function verify known host that was in the samples. For now, we skip host verification. I don't want. This is a very bad idea to skip it, so we will add it later. But now I want to focus on the key-based authentication. So. Oops. Okay. Yeah. So in order to make this a little better and test it, we need two things now. We need to check if any of the other options are relevant for our minimal test case. So let's see them. Host, port, user. I think this is definitely needed. So let's set it. Again, we set it with a string literal, which is not a good idea, but for now, because refactoring is always, let's refactor after we got something to work, and then we refactor, and then if it works again, then yeah, this is a work model I like very much. So host, no, not host, but instead user. And let's already have a user that is like chess engine, because later on we will have a dedicated user. This is very important, because if we miss some security thing and an attacker manages to capture the process, then we don't want to have it run with elevated or quite big user rights, and my own account, which sometimes has the username Fred, I guess, usually has some more privileges, and this chess engine could run with very few user privileges, and so we will want to have a dedicated user for that process. Okay, localhost, this will change. Yeah, I don't know. I think we better run with an IP address here, or let's do it like this. We also say chess engine, and I will modify the host file of my PC. So we already test the entire domain name service-based approach, and we can change it later, and we can even buy a domain and set up a server and do it properly. But for now, I will change the etc hosts file on my system and run with the domain chess engine. Okay. So next step is we go to our workspace, and I have some programs, and one of the programs is, no, it's not here because my computer is a mess. I have it directly here. Is putty, and for putty we need not this, we need the keygen for putty, and then we want an SSH2 RSA key with, yeah, I think this is okay. And then we say generate, and we generate some randomness by moving the mouse over the blank area. And done, all this stuff, and the passphrase. Okay, I just noticed that I will probably type the passphrase. Oh, I won't. Okay, I just thought about typing it in plain text somewhere into the program, but then I remembered that there is this callback method, and I think the input on the console for a passphrase can be masked with stars, but now I think it's quite complicated and I'm not quite sure anymore, so I will not use this password, because this is one password that follows the high security pattern of my passwords, and why it's not a big problem when an individual password is leaked. If too many of them are leaked, then it makes it easier to guess the pattern and then to be able to log in into any of my accounts. So we don't want to do this. It's a proof of concept anyway, so the password is, yeah, let's find some password that is really cool and not any of my very low security standard password, because I don't want you to guys log into my low security systems either. So this password will be password. And password is a very good password for low security purposes. Maybe password 47, because I played some Hitman recently. So password 47 is the password. Yeah. And now we save the public key, and we save it to our chess tunnel. And I think this is the working directory for Visual Studio projects, or maybe, no, this is the working directory. So this was the public thing. So key.pub for public, and then we save the private key, and okay, here ppk, And I think it's not too bad if we export it in a different format, because it's like this here, because some programs are better. Key dot open ssh dot yeah, I don't really know what the, because PuTTY has a special format for its keys. So I think the public key is always the same and the private key differs. The format for the private key differs. But let's have a look. Wordspace, chest tunnel. This is the public key that I'm allowed to show you. Okay. Yeah, this is plain text and very understandable. Yeah, okay. I would look into my key files now that I use for everything, my high security key files, to find out which formats are stored under which file names, etc. But I don't want to show you my private key for understandable reasons. So let's do it like this. Key.open ssh.key, because I don't know if it's a public or private thing. And now we look into it. And then we see it's a private key. Excellent. Okay, so yes, I want to rename it, and we also make a copy of this, and key dot open ssh dot key, and I think this would work, but I also think yeah, exactly. We have the OpenSSH public format right here, so we use that instead. Okay. Okay, so we have our set of keys. They're basically the same key. This is the format for PuTTY, I don't know, and this is in the format for OpenSSH. And I think this is the format we need to use for libssh. Okay. So where did we leave off? Yeah, okay. Connect authenticate. The connect thing is done here. And now comes the authentication thing. We use the minimal example as a start. And then we add some of the other stuff. Okay. I don't really like the format they are using for their variables. I like camel caps more. So as I said, how do you search and replace? I think bearbeiten, suchen, ersetzen. Yeah, here, Schnellersetzung. And I want to replace this with my SSH session. Yep. Do we have some others? No, this is a function name. Oh well. Oh, yeah, okay. I think a good idea. I think this thing does not allow me to return an SSH auth error when I specify that the return value is SSH session. So I will do it a little differently. Yeah, I know I made a mistake. This comes because I programmed too much Java, and in Java you always type the same thing like 3 times in a row, like my SSH session equals new my SSH session, and so yeah. And so this thing is like, let's follow the convention they are using in all the examples. This is for a return code, and this is int, and this takes a reference of, I think like this. Okay, this is not okay, this is because my C++ is so rusty. Okay, now I pass it by value, but I don't want to do that. I want to pass a reference. So so this means it takes a pointer. And this means now it's not compatible, so I have to use the address operator, and what the okay, yeah, and so it works like this. Sometimes I'm struggling with input of characters like this. The reason is, as you might have noticed, I use the German language but the international keyboard layout. And the reason for this is I use different American and German keyboards a lot. It depends on where I am, and sometimes I can influence and have control over which type of keyboard I can use, and sometimes not. And where I don't have control over it, it's usually in an environment where I have to use an English keyboard. And so I also decide to use an English keyboard privately. And so sometimes my head gets mixed up and I use a German shortcut for the keyboard. And I made a habit out of it not to look down and look on my keyboard what actually is printed on the buttons, for 2 reasons. First reason is this is a bad habit and it interferes with 10-finger typing. And the second reason is my keyboard does not have any markings and printings on it anyways, because I did that to discipline me. Okay, this is cool, because this shows me that this here is not complete. We need to initialize it here. No, we don't really need to initialize it here, and I don't want to have so much code split all over the place. So we just remove this, and then we say my SSH session is gleich equals this thing. And now we need the correct operator to like dereference it. Yeah. No. Yeah, this always happens to me when I did not program C++ for some time. I have to do some guesswork how the correct code is. So let's get this straight. I think this will be something for the next video, where I thoroughly explain. First I look it up again, then I wrap my mind around it. I grok it completely, and if you don't know what grok is, then I will type it for you. Grok. You should definitely look this up. It's very important to grok things. Then I grok it, and then I try to explain it, and after that I hope it takes another year or so until I forget it again. How these operators basically work. Right now I will just do some guesswork, and I hope the compiler will not slap me too hard. Yeah. On the other hand, I really want. Because I know there is a way where you can pass it by reference, but still use it like it is a normal thing inside the function. And so you don't have to use like the address operator or the reference operator every time you use it. How are we doing this? I'm not hesitating now because I don't know how to do it. I basically know that there are different ways, but they have a different workload. So the best thing to do would be setting up all the thing that you use to handle exceptions. So you don't, because this passing back the -1 as a error code or something like this is a little bit outdated, and I like it more to have the entire exception thing set up where an error condition gets passed back on a different path and not on like the return values. So I assume then I would have connect authenticate, which would give back my session object, and the error code here or an error condition like here and here, we would just throw an exception and have an exception handling, etc., etc. But given the fact that we want a quick example, I don't want to have too much basic setup. I like to refactor it later and then show how to put it into an existing project and make 1 or 2 videos dedicated entirely to it. So right now I will not do this. So I think we run with this and embarrassingly look up the operators. C++ address operator, and then there is here a thing, and here is a minimal example. Okay, this is how I declare a pointer, and now this points to the address of this, and now this is dereferencing, so it says, okay, this is an address, but I want to have the content of it. So yeah, basically I'm doing it. I'm doing it correctly. This is the dereferencing, and again, I absolutely suck at C++, but I know that certain things exist and can be done in a certain way, so I usually find the solutions really quick when I go for it. So this is not right because we're using the same session here. Damn it. Some programs allow, some IDEs allow the autocomplete with enter, and some with tab, and I tried enter and it does not work. Okay. If RC equals auth error, then we get the error of the session tab. Yeah, tab is the correct way. And this is interesting. Look, it does not complain. But I think that still does not complain. Maybe it accepts both. Very well possible. Same thing here. Okay. Okay, then here is something the IDE complains about. If it equals null, I also like to complain about it because okay, this is the reason why it complains about, but there is another reason why you should complain about it, because it's very bad style to have an if condition without the brackets, because if you end up with a double line, for example, this, okay, I will go over this real quick. This is how it was. So now let's say you use Git or any other code versioning system and you change a lot of things in your code, and you have like 100 of these statements below each other as like guard statements. And then you end up merging it and you don't have a very sharp eye, and this happens. Then you're basically fucked. Especially if they are not guard statements, but instead they are accept statements. So for example, this does not check the error condition. Let's say this checks success, and then you would return success in any case, and then you're fucked. And if you say, oh, this is a very bad example and this will never happen, precisely this happened, Apple. in their authentication for one of their products, iPhone, iOS, I don't know, maybe also on one of their computer programs and not phone. And so you could have a condition where you would always get authenticated regardless of authentication you provided, and they made it public and fixed it real quick. If you Google for it, you will probably find it. So no, this is not how we want to do it. We want to do it like this because it's more explicit, it's safer. If you want to add additional things that happen, then yeah. Okay. So we get a pointer of a session, we make a new session, we make a return thing. Let's put that below our declarations. Then we open a session and set options. This is pretty clear without any comment. The comments and example tend to state the obvious because they don't know what the background of the user is. But yeah, if let's make like this. This thing says connect to the server, and the function below it literally says SSH_connect. So no, thank you, but no thank you. Okay, so then let's get back to work. We set our two options, the host and the user. Both are the same string. This is intended. Then we connect. If we do not get an OK, then we make some printf things, free our stuff, and exit. And exit. Yeah, okay. Normally I would like to pass control back to the main function, then check for everything and exit there. And yeah, this is a better idea. Return -1. Let's do it like this. And also here, okay, -1 basically is the code for anything got fucked up. We don't know precisely what got fucked up, but anything got fucked up. Okay, so now this function does not work like this. Here is a small thing indicating it because there are not enough not enough arguments. It is their minimal example. So it's supposed to work somewhat, but maybe they changed the definition of this function. So let's look it up in the API documentation, and then we will find out what the problem is. Okay, it wants a session, a username, and a passphrase. Yeah, no, I don't want to provide a username and a passphrase. So are there other definitions? User auth public key auto. Okay. This is a bad idea. User auth try public key. Interesting. Here's not the word try. Let's see, what candidates do we have? User auth public key. Okay, so why try public key? To avoid unnecessary following methods provided to query whether authentication would be possible. Do not permit. Okay, this is a private key. And this is a public key. Yeah, let's try it with this. Okay, to be able to do this, we need to load a key. This is done with retrieve the private key using this. If a passphrase, the callback will be used. Yeah, okay, so let's look up the API documentation. File name, passphrase, callback, and I pointed to a key. So yeah. Okay. Okay, so the callback function does not really work that way. So, oops. Let's treat that differently. Oh, maybe it does. Yeah, it does. Okay. This needs to be one of my functions I define. I think a function that takes no arguments and returns a string. Later on, I would like to have that string on the user prompt, but we are already 36 minutes into the video, so yeah, let's load the key here. So I will try to wrap it up. Whoops. Okay. No, not file bar, file name, passphrase. Okay, I don't really know why we need this this thing here. A pointer to void, what? So I will need to look it up, and then we need to put the right values into those things, and then we will have the key here, and then we can pass this key to the other function, to this one, and then we can authenticate with the server. Okay, thanks for watching. So this will be SSH authentication, like part 1. And I hope not part 1 of 7. I hope we will get it working in the next video. Until then, yeah, see you then, hopefully. I'm just thinking about if I should say something else. Yeah, okay. So just to give you a short hint what to expect in the next video. We will get this thing working. I will show you how to do a callback, because we need it for this function, how to do a callback in C++. And maybe I will also talk a little more about, maybe I will set up a little example in one of the next videos to talk a little about the entire pointer and reference thing, because that is one big thing you need to crack in your head if you want to do C or C++. And my head does not work that well, so I need to crack it repeatedly every time I do not program in any of those languages for like a month or so, or no, not that short, for like a year or longer. Then I always struggle a little bit until I remember it. So what bugs me a little bit is this red thing. So something is, yeah, this is still wrong. Okay. So yeah, we can do the, it basically is the same thing. We can do the make this complete. This is the username, right? And this is the key. It's called PK. Okay, we have a pointer to PK, but we need PK, so we need to dereference it, right? Yeah, okay, and this is a string, and strings in C++ are not like in PHP. Yeah, okay. Okay, sorry for the distraction again, because the video is now really long. Thank you very much for watching. next time we get the SSH authentication done. See you. Bye-bye.